So, welcome to Preview Show. As we preview Palace's upcoming match this Sunday versus our heated rivals, Brighton. I'm joined today by T, Stan, and Lou as we talk what I think is going to be a very important game this weekend.
I agree.
Remember to like and subscribe. We appreciate that. Look for any. Lou and I did a play ratings for the Man City game. Check that out. And obviously, we'll be doing a match reaction live on Sunday post Brighton, and there should be also a play rating show. We appreciate all your support. T, long time. How you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you, P.
Appreciate it. Stan, how are you today?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've been telling you that we missed your opinions over the tough run that we had, man. We could have done. We missed them. So I'm glad to be sharing a screen with you again.
Appreciate it. And Louis, how are you today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. I think Patrick he eased in at the exact right time after that bumpy road.
No, it was a coincidence. Trust me, it wasn't anything done. Just needed a little free time off. I'll start before we get into the preview of the show. Let me give you guys a little bit of you and his fans. Again, if you are in the chat, at some point later on, just drop your score predictions for the Brighton game. I'll be sure to put them on the screen, and we'll talk about the predictions lastly in the show. I want to get into a little bit of Palace news. Firstly, the under-21s played a match on Tuesday versus Anderlecht. It's the International Cup, which we are the current holders of. It was a close game. Goals by, if I remember, Zach Marsh, Mofi Jemede, and Jemiah Omalu. Palace won 3-1. They are currently out of the playoff spots as far as the next round. They need to win their last game. I believe it's against RB Leipzig to get to the next round. T, you're a big follower on 21s. What you made of the season so far?
I mean, it's been pretty decent. I mean, they've had a lot of guys that have gotten a chance to play at that level. I think last night we got to see Marsh and Derry start together, which was good to see. And then Omolu come off the bench and bag one too. The 21's have been looking pretty good, man. A lot of talent, a lot of the young guys, I believe.
Yeah, what I've liked most is that there's a lot of 18s on that team. You mentioned Marsh, Derry, Grant was on that team, Jemede, Hindalo's playing on that team. Caleb Kapora played. He's been in training with the first team. So I like the fact that they're blooding a lot of the young players. Probably with a look to the future, maybe get him out on loan next season, or again, just have a stronger 21 side next season. But I like what's going on. And lastly, of Palace news, well, actually, two more things. The women's side had a League Cup game yesterday against Spurs. Unfortunately, lost 2-0, so they're out of the league. It was a League Cup game. Struggling a bit this season, the women's team. They are currently bottom of the WSL, but hopefully they'll, bounce back soon. They actually play Man United this weekend.
It's only one goes down. It's only one goes down, though, isn't it?
It is only one, but they are bottom currently, so it is only one.
How many points adrift?
They are currently they're the same amount of points as Leicester. Leicester women on 5 points, so it's really goal difference it has on the bottom of the league right now. So it's gonna be a tough slog. They've won one game so far this season, but hopefully they'll be able to bounce back. Again, just staying up for them would be a major accomplishment. Yeah. So. And lastly, before we even get into the preview, I noticed that there was a couple of pictures today from training. So Adam Wharton's thankfully back in training, which is brilliant. So that will really help us going forward. I'm not sure if he'll play this weekend, but it's good to have him back. Stan, what are your thoughts about the team currently?
Big improvements, I think. But it was always going to take some time because the transfers were done really, really late. We have had some bad injuries. We lost some key players. But I think, lots of improvement. And I'm hoping things can continue to improve, is what I will say. That's probably about it.
And T, what are your thoughts? Lou and I talk about it a lot during the reaction. Ratings. What are your thoughts on the team? I spoke to you all about Palace.
I mean, I think a lot of it was just having to have patience. It's been tough. It's been a tough road to start of the season with losing guys and having to have more faith in our young guys. But I mean, I think it's 8 unbeaten at this point, so we're starting to see that slow turn. I mean, not right. It's not on the high end that we were at the end of last season with that type of run, but we've put together some really, really good performances, and not all of them have been wins, which is understandable to a certain point. But it is encouraging the fact that we've seen increased performances each and every game, better defensive output, less mistakes, and now we're starting to see some wins and things. And it's kind of like the feel of, hey, long may it continue. Great to see guys starting to get back into the flow of things too, with getting Adam Wharton back in, the development of Justin Devaney. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, but having a guy like Wharton come back and having a player like Devaney develop, there's a lot less need, or I guess a lot less need to count on somebody like Kamada, who's had some struggles. You know what I mean? Because you have somebody that we can put in there in a Justin Devaney that we have faith in. So
yeah,
I think given all the struggles that we've had this year, there's been a lot of good things that have come from the struggles that we've had, and I think a lot of good things to come ahead of us.
You know what? I forgot to mention. So I actually read this question. I forgot to mention. Chad Riyad played in that game against Anzac. He's back. So I've never actually spoken to you about Chad Riyad. He only played obviously the 2 matches, the West Ham game, which he struggled, and the game he got injured in, the Norwich game. What are your thoughts on Chad Riyad? Not only his return, but just him as a player in general. Lou?
I saw it. I was at the West Ham game. First half was a bit shaky, but I think it's hard for anyone coming into a new league to play against a seasoned West Ham team. He was kind of thrown in the deep end, and like we said, newer players or players coming back from injury or players who don't normally get enough minutes, if they're playing in a weakened team, it's always going to make them look even worse. So it's a bit like when people wanted Asher Agbenoni to come on and save us, but you can't throw Asher in a weakened team. You put Asher when we're at full strength, and there's experienced players around him. We're more confident. So I think Riyad, the pressure's off of him. We've got a solid back three. There's cup games coming up. He can kind of get back into his rhythm. But yeah, he's obviously a talented player, and we need a Gahey replacement at some point. So maybe use the next 6 months to blood him in, and he can maybe take his place next season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him play more. And you're right, having that depth at the centre back position is going to be important. I want to move on to Brighton. New manager Fabian Hertzler doing a good job for this first time in the league. I want to extend this question before I ask you your opinion about Hertzler and Brighton in general. Do you know the tentative link between Palace and Fabian Hertzler?
I don't know.
Anybody want to take a guess?
Oh, you know what? Oh my God. No, I can't remember it. It's gone. But I know it came up the other day. But go on.
Don't tell me this guy was in our youth ranks. He's only in his low early 30s, so he could have been our youth ranks.
He's younger. He's actually younger than my son, which is kind of scary for me to even say that. He's 2 years younger than my son. No, remember he was a St. Pauli manager. And who do we have on loan at St. Pauli?
Scott Banks.
Oh, he was coach Scott Banks. Okay.
Despite the fact that Banks obviously was injured and, they got promoted, he actually was his manager. So that's an interesting link. But I want to ask you, Stan, what are your thoughts on how Hertz has done so far and just Brighton in general so far this season?
I think it would be silly of me to say that they haven't done well, because they have. They've had a good start to the season, as much as it pains me to admit it. I think, is he a good manager? I think time will tell, because he started well. He's had a little bit of a blip now. He's also had a board that have backed him to the tune of like 230 million quid on players. So that's that. Is he a good manager? Maybe. I'll tell you one thing. He ain't as good as our manager. Hopefully, like I said, so yeah, Brighton's Brighton, man. They've done all right. They've had a good start to the season, but let's see what happens on Sunday.
So currently Brighton sits 7th in the table, 24 points, 1-6, drawn 6, lost 3. Last 5, 2-2 draw to Leicester away, 3-1 loss to Fulham away, 1-1 draw with Southampton, 2-1 win over Bournemouth, and a 2-1 win over Man City. Lou, typically he sets up Hurts like in a 4-2-3-1, has played a 4-4-2. But tactically, what do you make of how he set up this season, and what are your thoughts on like their attacking options?
They've got a lot of attacking options, especially out wide. They've got probably 2 players for every single position. I was a big fan of Matt O'Reilly. I thought he would be a great signing for us in that right 10 role. I thought 25 million was a snip. Minto obviously cost 35 million. They got a Dingra who hasn't been playing so well. Matoma as well, but I think with Matoma, there was, where he was new to the league, there wasn't much analysis or data on him, so he was like a new shiny toy to the league.
Yeah.
And what happens in this league is there's so much stuff that goes into preparation for games that I think he'd been found out a little bit, and I think this season's kind of his levels lowered a bit. So I think they're a really good team. They got a great squad. He's obviously a progressive manager that's taken over from De Zerbi and Potter. It's like you say, they're all quite similar in their styles of play, just little tweaks. But I do believe, like I said in maybe the City live reaction or the match ratings, I think Glasner thrives off of going up against these managers who have like their one way of playing and their high press. So I believe they've got a good squad, but I'm with Stan. I think Glasner's a better manager, and I feel like he could tactically outdo him this weekend, because I feel like Hertzler is one of those guys that literally sticks to his principles, nothing else, his way or the highway, no other alternatives.
Russell Martin-esque.
German Russell Martin.
Yeah.
But look at Company. He gets relegated with Burnley, and then he gets the Bayern job. So a lot of these managers, they sacrifice the team to show their way of playing. And we're in that sort of era of football where you can't hire a manager and sign all the players that they want. It has to be what's best for the club. So Brighton are smart hiring the same type of manager, because they're still going to recruit the same type of players. Whereas we go from Hodgson to Glasner to Vieira, it's always switching different styles of players. So, yeah.
So we're unbeaten in our last 4. The Villa draw, the Newcastle draw, the Ipswich win, and the City draw. So I'll ask Stan and then T. Where do you think then, based on our great analysis there by Lou, where do you think that Palace can get at Brighton? Start with you, Stan.
I think that they play quite a high line, if I'm not mistaken. And we have Ismail Assar who can exploit that. We have some speed on that right hand side. Their centre backs, Lewis Dunk has been off it the past couple of games. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know that our fan base hates him, etc., but he's had a hell of a career there, and he's always been quite solid for them. But he has been off it this season, and that's something you can exploit. And I think one or two of their midfielders aren't as good as people think they are. So yeah, there's a number of areas I think that we can exploit them, to be honest with you.
For me, it's definitely the center backs. It's definitely the center backs. It has to be. Whether it's Dunk, Van Heck, Igor. I think with some of the guys that we have up front, we could really cause them some issues. Their fullback play has been pretty good. I feel like Tariq Lamptey's having a little bit of a resurgence in his time with them, and they got guys like Stupinian and now Faraday Kadiolu, who's there now. So I think if we're going to attack them, it's got to be their center backs. I mean, speaking of a midfielder that's playing really well for them that I've been paying attention to, Carlos Baliba has been playing really well for them. I really like him. He's a talented young center back, almost like Moises Caicedo-esque a little bit.
Yeah.
To me, he's a really good player, so I think he helps him a lot. But other positions may be a little bit vulnerable in the center of the pitch. But he's one of them that's really good.
So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit more about Palace then. So, Lou, I don't think that Glasner would look to change anything, but tactic-wise and off starting lineup, what would you do for Sunday against Brighton?
Me personally, obviously, like I always say, I'm not a qualified Premier League manager, but with the games coming up, Arsenal, I think me personally is a bigger game than this game. I would start Hughes and Lerma, but I would tell them to run their socks off for 50, 60 minutes and then have Decore and Wharton finish, because like these days they call substitutes finishers. They're going to be the ones to maybe swing the game for us. And then maybe rotate them around Arsenal, give Wharton and Decore the 50-60 against Arsenal, then bring Lerma and Hughes on. I think the midfield is going to be really important, and we've got to be brave, also disciplined again, because they will have a lot of the ball. A lot of the time we give up possession. We haven't had great possession stats this season. But I think the biggest thing is taking our chances, because we've been creating. It's got to click. It's got to click at some point. We've got to put 2 or 3 away. We've got to be more ruthless. And I think if we can do that, I believe we can win.
You know what? Defensively, we've actually been decent this season. I've spoken to on these streams quite a bit of how much I really like Gahey, Lacroix, and Chalobah, and I wouldn't really change those, but that back three. We've conceded 20 goals this season, same amount, by the way, as Bournemouth, who are 8th, Fulham were 10th, but less goals conceded than Man City, who are 4th, Villa in 6th, Brighton, because less than them, Brentford, and Newcastle. So defense, we've been very, very solid. I believe Henderson's now played 100 Premier League matches. That was the last game. But Stan, I want to talk to you a little bit about, just how we can actually get at those defenders that T had mentioned. It would be, I guess it was Kadioglu hasn't played really a lot. Has he? It's been Lamptey and
he's injured. Van der Berg and Dunk. Veltman's also injured. Yeah, right. Veltman's injured, so Lamptey came in, and Lamptey scored an absolute screamer against Leicester.
He did. I hadn't really thought about it. I tried to focus one game at a time. I absolutely totally forgot. We do have that League Cup game a week from yesterday.
No, it's Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah.
So 6 days. So with that in mind, Stan, what would you change things a little bit at any position just to still want to rest someone for the Arsenal game, or what's your approach to this game?
You know what? It's a tricky one because it's funny, right? Not funny, but it's hard to think about it because, this team going to the semi-finals of the League Cup and potentially being 2 games from Wembley and having a shot at actually winning a cup is enormous, right? It's huge. And it's it would be life-changing for all of us as fans. It'd be life-changing for the football club, if anything were to come of it, right? Okay, I'm like, what's it called? Like hoping for the best here. But Brighton, that game, we owe them for last season because they done us hard up there. Like they destroyed us. So I wouldn't change anything. I think you've got to play your best team because league form is also important. Bear in mind that we are still down the bottom and we want to pull away from that the more we possibly can. If Adam Wharton is back, do you bring him in? Do you bring him in because he's that good? Do you bring him in and get 60 out of him? Like we did with Elise at Anfield that time that we won, last season. Like, do you bring? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a really tricky one. I'm interested to see what you guys think.
T, what do you think?
I think it's tough because, part of me doesn't want to see him get thrown right in there because I know what he's coming off of. Like we have guys coming back from surgeries. Like I don't like just throwing them out there and just have them say, hey, play as much as you can, or so I think personally I'd like to see him get in but not start, honestly.
I wouldn't throw him straight in. And like you said, Babella is an athletic midfielder. They've got quite a dynamic midfield. The last thing you want is Wharton out for another few weeks, or because if you're coming off a surgery, it might not necessarily be that reoccurring injury, but it might be a different muscular injury. And quickly, Brighton are the only team that are like over their XG against has been under, and their XG scoring has been over. Like they're the only one overperforming, and teams are underperforming against them.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting.
That's some very interesting things.
They've been riding their luck a bit, and the luck's been running out the last couple of games.
So lastly, not lastly, but in view of the fact we had that League Cup game coming up, Stan, which is more important to you, the Sunday match or the Arsenal game, League Cup game?
My God, what a loaded question!
Very, especially because it's Brighton.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna say League Cup, because I'm gonna say, listen, as much as I really want to beat Brighton, and I really, really do, I'm going to say League Cup, because we haven't been this far in the competition for a long time. I know we're playing Arsenal. I know it's going to be a tough game, but it's an opportunity to actually do something. Do you know what I mean? So that's important to me. And Glasner is a manager who thrives on competitions as well. So yeah, I'm going to go Arsenal on Sunday.
Lou, what about you?
On Wednesday, sorry.
Right, Lou, more important to you?
I'm a bit selfish, because I was at the game when we beat Brighton in the playoffs, and I don't think anything tops that in the rivalry. We were the underdogs, Zaha 2 goals. Like, that's etched into history. And I've been back to the Amex 5 times since, and we've lost every single time. So I'm used to this. But I've never seen us win at Arsenal. And there's 6,000 of us going, and it's the semi-finals. Arsenal win all day long. I'm used to the Brighton loss, and I saw us win there in the playoffs. So for me, that's maybe a selfish reason, but to go to the Emirates and stick it to them, that would be fine for me.
So Lou, sorry just to interrupt the next person, but I'll say that as well, that I was at Palace 5, Brighton 0 in 2000.
I was there too, yeah.
2002. I was 17 years old, so I've seen that. And I will say that, as much as there is a rivalry and we haven't beaten them in a long time, when it's really mattered, we've always beaten them. Do you know what I mean? So we've got that, like I said, the Arsenal game, like you said, 6,000 go in there, away game, potential semi-final. Yeah, which I agree, man.
T, what's more important to you, the Brighton match or the League Cup game?
I'm going to say the most important match is the one that's right in front of me. That's just my assessment of it. Right.
Conservative answer. Good answer. Conservative answer.
But here's the reason why I say that, though. Not only, of course, there's the importance because it's Brighton and of the heated contest that it is between us and them. But however, think about the difference in momentum and belief that you have as a team going into Arsenal, going into the Emirates with those 6,000 fans, if you do it coming off of a victory over the most hated team that your club goes against.
Players would be cream cracker.
Oh, obviously, I want both, but the question was if you had to pick one.
If I had, like I said, if I had to pick one,
Thanks.
if I had to pick one, I have to go with this one for right now. Yeah. Honestly, that's just
fair. That's a fair point, man. I said my one's selfish reasons.
Okay. So before we get to score predictions, I want to give you guys, and if you haven't had a chance, the Brighton history is actually there's a great article on the cpfc.co.uk website. But I'm gonna give you my personal, because again I'm the oldest person on this stream, in this chat, and I actually remember that when the rivalry first started. So I want to give people who don't know just a little quick history lesson as to why Palace and Brighton have a rivalry. It's not a derby; it's just a rivalry. So back in 1972-73, Palace were relegated from the first division, which is now what we call the Premier League, to the second division, which is now the Championship, and then again relegated that following season from the first division to the second division. So the Palace were relegated from second, third, relegated 2 consecutive seasons. We had not played Brighton for about 10 years, and we faced them for the first time in 13 years in 1974 and lost to them 1-0. The following 2 seasons later, we played them 5 times.
In one season?
In one season. I'll tell you why. Twice in the league and 3 times in the FA Cup. Back then, FA Cup we replayed until someone won. First game.
Ties. Just draws.
2-2 draw, then a 1-1 draw, and then we beat them 1-0. at that time, the managers for the teams were Terry Venables was the Crystal Palace manager. He had been Malcolm Allison's assistant, and the manager for Brighton was a man named Alan Mullery.
Scum.
Alan Mullery and Terry Venables were teammates for quite a while at Tottenham Hotspur, and they didn't like each other as teammates. So when they became managers, they hated each other. So that's kind of why there was such a big rivalry. The 5 matches in one season kind of got the fans into it, and then Alan Mullery made a comment after one of the games. He threw down some
coins into the crowd.
Threw some coins to the crowd. Yeah, I read about that.
He said you're not worth $2 or something like that. Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if that's necessarily that big. It adds to the folklore, but that's kind of where the rivalry comes from.
But that's something that could start it though. But hey, I wanted to mention this too in my answer. Another reason why I say that I think Sunday is more important is because of where we are in the table. We need those 3 points. Like those 3 points are essential to us right now. Yeah, and I think that there will be less emphasis on how important the win would be if we weren't right now in 17th place. But being that we are in 17th place, those 3 points matter a whole lot. So.
They certainly do. So this will be the 112th meeting between Palace and Brighton. Of late, the rivalry's kind of been a little bit lopsided. We obviously lost last season to Brighton. That cost Hodgson his job. Prior to that, we lost 1-0 to Brighton. That cost Vieira his job. Clearly, the Glasner's job is not on the line. It should even lose. But it's interesting. The last 2 times we've lost to them, they have it cost us our manager. My most memorable game for me of recently was the 2-1 COVID game when Mateta scored, and then Benteke got the winner.
Benteke got the winner.
Last kick in the game.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, let's go around. I mean, I know Lou's already mentioned the playoff game, and you mentioned yours, Stan, right? What's your favorite Palace Brighton game, T?
Yeah, the one you just mentioned. Benteke's winner. I was going crazy at my mom's house watching that
game. I gotta say, like, it's got to be Zaha OES. Like, it's got to be like that.
When I was at that game, I was in when he scored the second goal. I was in line with the strike in the top corner. I've never been in a ground in a away end that's gone so crazy ever. There was just bodies all over the floor.
Did Zaha score on a header in that game? Too?
Yeah. Whipped it in.
That might have been the last time we've seen him score a header.
And you know what? The second time he scored a header, it was against Brighton as well in the Premier League. It was Brighton, yeah.
It's never seen him score headers.
That was, yeah.
The 3-2 win.
Yeah. I mean, that game, that Zaha yes game. I'll never forget that game. But I'm just thinking about. I just wish there would have been fans for that Benteke goal, because I could imagine what would have happened in the end. It would have been amazing. So we've got a couple. Before we get to the predictions, I got one from Louis Tidy here. He got 2-1 Palace late JP winner. That would be nice. And Chris has 4-1 Palace, Revenge, Saar, and Ketia too.
Jesus, 2 for Ketia. You'd be lucky if he gets on.
2 for Ketia is nuts.
That's one way. Go around. That's one way to tell you, Kamada and Ketia, you score 1 goal in this game, or a winner, or equalizer, everything's forgiven forever.
Louis, that's a great shout. You're absolutely right. You score a goal in this game, you become a legend. You really do. Yeah, so let's start with T. What's your prediction for Sunday's match?
Being that I will never, ever, ever say that we're going to lose to Brighton, and I feel like we're playing on the up and up right now, I'll go with 2-1 Palace.
Stan?
I've got to back the team in El Gatwick, lads. I've got to back them. So I'm going 2-0 Palace.
I like it. Dino with the shutout.
Louis, what do you have?
Ooh. By the way, I've got Ipswich right and Man City right in the last 2.
I was going to mention that, but you're going to beat me to it.
Are we going for the hat? Yeah.
Going for a hat trick. My soul's telling me it's 2-1 Palace, but Brighton are going to go 1-0 up. There's some magic in the air. I can feel it. I can feel it.
You come back from 1-0 and win 2-1. You come back from 1-0. You win 2-1 at Brighton. Oh yeah.
I can feel it. I can feel it.
Oh yeah.
There have been a lot of 1-1s in this rivalry. A lot of 1-1s, but I like that 2-1 score. I'm gonna go 2-1 Palace also. I agree with the fact that if we win this match, it sets up the Arsenal League Cup game perfectly from a lot of standpoints. I think the team really has, starting to turn around with the injuries and where we're playing and the manager and everything like that. So I'll go for the 2-1. Go ahead. Anybody want to say any final thought before I wrap it up?
I was going to say, if we start with the same team as City, who do you guys think could be the game changers in the second half? Who do you think can change this game or spin it on its head?
What, to come off the bench?
Oh yeah, on the bench. Who can
to come off the bench?
Yeah. Because I feel like it's going to be one of those games. I don't think it will be settled by the first 11s on both sides. I feel like it'll be tight to the end.
For me, it's either Adam or Czech. I feel like one of those. I mean, I feel like I could really see Adam Wharton coming to the game and just playing some type of insanely beautiful pass that leads to a score for us, or Czech breaking something up that leads to a counterattack and a score. Like I don't know.
Yeah. My other question is: do you think it will be Villa tactics or Spurs tactics?
Villa. I think Villa, because you've got they play a high line, and I think you've got to exploit Sarr's pace because he will cause them some problems. You just got to hope that JP, as he has done recently, plays the offside trap well, and that he can finish some of these balls that will go in the box for him. We'll see.
And against Villa, we really look to exploit their center backs.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that really stood out to me, and I think should stand out about this match in particular.
Yeah, and we'd have to stop. Same way we had to try and stop Morgan Rogers. It will be probably João Pedro in those pockets.
I think dead balls for us could be important.
Yeah,
so corner opportunities, dead ball chances, I think could be really important for us.
Yeah.
It's a great question, Lou, and because I really want him to get a redemption arc, I'm going to go here with Animal's pick. I'm going to go for Kamada to do something coming off the bench.
Come on for Eze.
I wouldn't be mad.
Kamada redemption, shot from outside the box, like against Villa.
Mitchell cutback.
Maybe. It's going to be a really tough game, though, man. It's going to be a really tough game.
All right, we're going to wrap it. I want to thank T, Stan, Lou for jumping on. Again, remind everybody, if you could just like and subscribe as you exit and check out some of our past content, that'd be great. Again, we'll have a match reaction on Sunday, and hopefully either Lou and I, or maybe hopefully DB back soon, we'll be doing a play ratings. From also back in this, I thank you. Until later, come on, you Palace.
Out the Palace.
Up the Palace.